Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of Book 6, Unit 1, Grammar. In this lesson, we will be studying what is known as the passive voice. My name is Mr. Dante, and before we get started, I would ask that you please have your materials ready, have a notebook and a pen or a pencil, for you will need them for some practice activities that we will be doing during this video. Practice is the only way to really learn how to use this grammar properly. So I hope you're ready. If you have your materials, let's get started. All right, so what will you need to know in this lesson? Well, you'll need to know what the passive voice means. Okay, what does the passive voice mean? And why do we use the passive voice? What you'll also need to know is the changing of these voices. Okay, there is an active voice and a passive voice. You'll need to know the changes from an active voice to a passive voice and from a passive voice to an active voice. So today we will study the passive voice, and we'll also study the passive voice in different tenses. Okay, we'll study using the passive voice in the present tense, the present perfect tense, present continuous, the simple past, past perfect, past continuous, future tense, and the future perfect tense. Okay, so what does the passive voice mean? Well, until now, the sentences that you've learned to write were active. What that means is we know who is doing something in the sentence. Okay? If you look here, a sentence has a subject, and the subject does an action, right? So a sentence has a subject being a woman, okay? And that subject does an action, right? So, oops, sorry. So a woman takes a photo, all right? So this verb is what the woman does, and this photo is what she does, right? So a woman takes a photo. All right, same in this example here. Number 2, a boy throws a ball, okay? A boy is the subject. The ball is what the boy throws, right? Understand? So now, since we are talking about passive, we want to make it passive. And what does that mean? It means that we don't know who is doing something, all right? So the object becomes the subject, as in photo is taken, right? Sorry. Okay. And then, sorry about that. The photo is taken, all right? The object is the photo and is taken, right? So the object becomes the subject, and then the object does an action, all right? So what that means is this, the photo, right, which is the object from here, which is the object from this sentence here, okay? The photo is taken, all right? Same here, where a boy throws a ball, excuse me. Here, the ball is thrown, okay? So here is the active voice, and this is the passive voice. Okay, so why do we use this passive voice? Okay? To focus on the action instead of the subject. So, for example, music is enjoyed by people all over the world. Okay? So, the focus is on enjoyment more than music. Okay? 2, when we don't know who did something or when the subject isn't important. Okay? So, for example, news about the storm is being reported in detail. Okay? So, there is news about the storm being reported, okay, but we don't know who is doing the reporting. Okay? Or even if who is doing the reporting is even important. All right? So when the subject isn't important, okay, what is being imported in this sentence is the most important. Okay, we don't know who is reporting the news. Okay, and 3, we use the passive voice to avoid responsibility or to avoid blaming someone. Okay, so for example, the plates were broken. So we probably don't know who broke the plates because we don't want them to get in trouble, or we just don't know who did the breaking of the plates in the first place. Or maybe it was you who broke the plates and you don't want to tell anyone. Okay? At any rate, these are the 3 reasons why we use the passive voice. 1, to focus on the action instead of the subject. And 2, when we don't know who did something, when the subject isn't important. And 3, to avoid responsibility and to avoid blaming someone. Right? Okay. Can you tell me what are the reasons that we use the passive voice? Okay, 1, yeah, to focus on the action instead of the subject. 2, when we don't know who did something or when the subject isn't important. And 3, to avoid responsibility, to avoid blaming someone. Okay, let's move on. All right, so here we're going just to do a simple review of the a simple review of the tenses in their active form. Okay. Note here, you have to know active tenses to make passive voice. All right. So here we have the simple past, present, and the future, right? So here, he wrote a book. He writes books. He will write a book. All right. You all know these, yeah? Here, continuous. He was writing a book. He is writing a book. And there is no future continuous. And the perfect tense, he had written a book. He has written a book. He will have written a book. All right. You all know these, yes? So we won't spend too much time reviewing them. Now, here is the passive voice. Okay. So use this after today as a reference for understanding what we learned. All right. We have the passive voice here. Simple. Okay. Remember, the subject is now the object of the last sentence is now the subject, and the focus is on the verbs here. What was written, the verb and the past participle. Okay. So simple past, a book was written. Simple present, a book is written. Future, a book will be written. Okay. Same here in the continuous. A book was being written. A book is being written. And there is no future continuous, of course. And third, a book had been written. A book has been written. A book will have been written. Okay. If you want to write down, excuse me. If you want to write down this chart in your notebook, you are more than welcome to. You can always stop the video and record these, or take a screenshot for your reference. This will kind of help you really put things together from active to passive. Okay, let's move on. All right, so we are going to learn how to change the active voice to the passive voice, all right? And we're going to learn how to do this step by step, all right? After this, you should know how to change the active voice sentence to a passive voice sentence, okay? Remember to have your materials ready because we will be doing some practice exercises, okay? Let's begin. Okay, so we have the present simple, yeah? All right, he writes a book, all right? Then we have the passive voice, a book is written, okay? So the active sentence has a subject, a verb, and an object, right? All right, that means it's present simple. He writes makes it present simple. Okay, and then we have the present passive. A book is written. All right, so to change the active into a passive, first we will take out the subject. All right, then we will make the object the subject. Next, we will add the be verb. And then we will change the verb to the participle, all right, or the verb 3. Okay. Okay, so let's go over that one more time. So first, you will take out the subject, all right. Then you will make the object the subject. Then you will then you will add the be verb, okay? If the subject, if it is singular, it is, and if it is plural, it is are, correct? All right, and then the last thing to do is to change the verb to the past participle. Okay? All right, let's practice. Okay, so there are 5 sentences that I want you to pay attention to. You're going to change these sentences from an active voice to a passive voice. Okay, an active present or present active voice to a present passive voice. All right, so remember, first thing to do is to take out the subject. All right. Then make the object the subject, okay? Then if the subject is singular, you use is. If it is plural, you add are. And finally, you change the verb to the participle, okay? So let's just do this first one really quick. So we have the subject, the baker makes, is the verb, and a cake is the object, all right? So what's the first thing that we do? Okay, we take out the subject, right? Next thing we do is to make the object the subject, all right? What is the object? Cake, exactly, all right? Now, so we make a cake the subject now, right? So it should say a cake. Then we add is or are, right? So a cake, which is a singular noun, Okay, we would then add what? Is or are. Okay, we would add is, right? Because it's singular. All right. And then we change the verb to the participle, right? So we would have the object becoming the subject. Okay, we want to add is, and then we change the verb to the participle. Okay, so a cake is made, right? Because the participle of makes is made, yeah? Okay, I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 minutes to write these sentences down in your notebook and change them from present active to present passive. All right, so at this point, you've probably done most of these sentences. So let's check on the answers. Okay, so as we did in the first one, a cake is made, yeah? All right. Second sentence should be a letter is written. Why? Because number one, we take out the subject, right? So we take out she. Next, we make the object the subject. All right. So as you can see, a letter here is now the subject here. Then we add is or are, and a letter is singular, right? So we add is, and then we take the verb and we change it to the participle, right? And from our last grammar video, you should know what some of these past participles are, right? Right. Okay, number 3, the girl reads a book, right? So take out the subject, right? The object becomes the subject. We add is because it's singular, and then we over here add the participle. Okay? And number 4, people eat sandwiches. That means sandwiches are eaten in the present passive voice. Why? Because we take out the subject, right? What do we do next? Yes. Okay, we make the object the subject. Yes. All right. Now, this subject is singular or plural? Right, plural, sandwiches, right? So instead of adding is, because it is plural, we add, yes, we add are. And then we change the verb to the participle, right? Pretty easy, yeah? Last one. Benin sings beautiful songs. Okay, what do we do? Take out the subject. Okay, make the object the subject, right? Um, Beautiful songs is plural, so we add are and then we change the verb to the participle. All right, moving on. Okay, with the simple past, it's pretty much the same thing, okay? So he wrote a book. Wrote is past tense, right? A book was written, right? Was is also past tense, right? Okay, here we have the subject, the verb, and the object. And then a book was written, which is the past passive voice. Okay, it's going to be the same thing. What do? We take out the subject. Okay, we change the object into the subject. Okay, we add the be verb, and then we change the verb to the participle. Okay, so lastly, we just go over this one more time. First thing we do, take out the, okay, he wrote a book, all right? A book was written, yeah? We take out the subject, okay? We make the object into the subject, okay? Then we add the verb and then change the verb to the participle, okay? All right. So again, I hope you have your materials ready. Here are 5 sentences that you have to change from the past, simple past to the past passive voice. Again, here is a table to help you if you have forgotten the practice that we've done so far. And again, I will give you a few minutes to write out these sentences in your notebook. Okay, so you should have completed these sentences by now, following this chart here. And let's see if your answers are correct. Okay, a cake was made. Why? Okay, what do we do with the subject? Take out the subject and then make the what? Object the subject. Then what do we do? Yes, and then, yes. Okay, we add the verb and then we change the verb here. I'm sorry, we add is or was. I'm sorry, was or were. And then we add there, or we change the verb to the participle. Okay, number 2. She wrote a letter. It should say a letter was written. All right. Number 3. The girl read a book. A book was read. Yes. All right. Remember our plural rules. Okay. What do we do first with this sentence? We take out the subject. And then we make the object into the subject. Then, yes, we add was or were. In this sentence, why did we add were? Because sandwiches is plural, yes. And then we change the verb to the participle, yes. Okay. Benin sang beautiful songs should be beautiful songs were sung. Why were? Yes, because the subject now is plural. And then sung is the participle of sang. Yes. Okay. Present perfect is going to be just a little different. Okay. Here we have of course, he has written a book. Okay. The only difference from the last sentences is that now there is a helping verb. Okay. But there is still a subject, a verb, and an object. Okay. That would be the present perfect tense in the active form. All right. And then down here, a book has been written in the present perfect passive form, right? So, as we would normally do, we first take out the subject, okay? Then we, yes, make the object the subject. Then we keep this passive, we keep the helping verb, right? That does not change. And we add been, okay? And keep the participle, okay? So if we're dealing with the present perfect, right? Okay, it has a helping verb, has. And so the only thing that's different from the last one is that we keep the helping verb and we add been, okay? All right, let's see if you can put these into practice. Okay, so yes, this is the present perfect. We have to change these from the active to the passive. So one more, there's a couple of rule changes here. Okay, number 1, we Yes, we take out the subject. 2, make the object the subject. Okay. 3, here we are keeping the helping verb if it's has or have. Okay. We add been and then we keep the participle, right? So let's do the first one. The baker has made a cake. All right. So what is our first rule? Yes, we take out the subject. All right. Then we make the object the subject. All right. Then, yes, okay, we're going to keep the helping verb. All right. So that helping verb is has. All right. We're going to then add been. All right. And then keep the participle. Okay. So, oops. All right. I will give you just a few minutes to practice changing these sentences from the active to the passive voice. Okay, so you should have had enough time to write out these sentences. So let's check your answers. Okay, so the first one we did together, a cake has been made. All right. Number 2, she has written a letter, should be changed to a letter has been written. Okay. 3, the girl has read a book, should be changed to a book has been read. Okay. Why? Because we take out the subject, right? And then, yes, we make the object the subject. Yes. And then what do? We keep the helping verb. Yes, keep the helping verb. And then we add been, right? And then finally, we change the verb to the participle. Okay. Number 4, people have eaten sandwiches. Sandwiches have been eaten. Benin has sung beautiful songs. Beautiful songs have been sung. Okay. All right. Past perfect. He had written a book. A book had been written. Okay. Now I want you to tell me what we do in this instance. Okay. All right. Past perfect passive, right? Okay, so what do? Yes, we take out the subject first, then yes, make the object the subject, and then keep the helping verb, right? Then, that's right, add been, and finally, we keep the participle, right? Okay, so it should be pretty easy from this point out. Okay, again, we first take out the subject, then we make the object the subject, we keep the helping verb, we add been, and then we keep the participle. Okay? Again, I'm going to give you just a few minutes to change these active sentences to passive sentences. All right, so you should have finished writing out these practice sentences. Let's check your answers. All right, the baker has made a cake. Okay, changed from active to the passive voice should say a cake had been made. Again, why did we change, when we changed the active from the passive, when we changed the active to the passive, sorry, what did we do? First, we, sorry, first took out the subject, right? And then made the subject, the object, this, the object, the subject, sorry. Okay, and kept the helping verb, right? Added been, and then changed the verb to the participle, right? Okay. She had written a letter. What did we do? Took out the subject. What next? Changed the object to the subject, and then kept the helping verb, added been, and then kept the participle. Okay? We kept the participle. In the past perfect, we keep the participle, okay? The participle doesn't change because it's already used in the verb, in the sentence, okay? Number 3, the girl had read a book. A book had been read. People had eaten sandwiches. Sandwiches had been eaten. And Benin had sung beautiful songs. Beautiful songs had been sung. Okay. All right. Moving on to the present continuous. Okay. Again, he is writing a book. Okay. That is the present continuous. The book is being written. That is present continuous passive. Okay. So again, we take out the subject, make the object subject, keep the helping verb, add being, okay, because it is continuous. Okay, we add being, change the verb to the participle. Okay, at this point, it should be pretty easy for you. So I'm going to move on to this practice. Again, I will give you a couple of minutes to practice writing these out. All right. Reference this chart here if you forgot any of the steps. Okay. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay. Moving on. Present continuous passive. Okay. These are your answers. I'm just going to go through them very quickly, as I believe you should have gotten the hang of it at this point. Okay, the baker is making a cake. A cake is being made. She is writing a letter. A letter is being written. The girl is reading a book. A book is being read. People are eating sandwiches. Sandwiches are being eaten. Benin is singing beautiful songs. Beautiful songs are being sung. Okay. All right. Past continuous. Okay. We have he was writing a book. A book was being written, right? Okay. The past continuous and the past continuous passive. Okay. You all know what the rules are. Okay. Much like the present continuous. Okay. We keep the helping verb. We add being and we change the participle, right? Okay. So we're just going to go through these and look at the answers very quickly because I believe you already know what these answers are. Okay, so the baker was making a cake. A cake was being made. She was writing a letter. A letter was being written. The girl was reading a book. A book was being read. People were eating sandwiches. Sandwiches were being eaten. Benin was singing beautiful songs. Beautiful songs were being sung. All right. The future tense. Okay. Again, we have a sentence that has a helping verb. Okay. All right. And then here a book will be written. All right. So same as in the other sentences that have a helping verb, we keep this verb, right? Well, first we take out the subject, make the object the subject, keep the helping verb, add be, and then change the verb to the participle. Okay. So as the future tense, changing it from an active voice to a passive voice at this point should be pretty easy for you. Okay, so let's go through some of the answers. Okay, a cake will be made. A letter will be written. A book will be read. Sandwiches will be eaten. Beautiful songs will be sung. Okay. So remember, oops, the future tense. Okay, we keep the helping verb and we add be. Okay. All right. The last one, the future perfect tense, is the same as the other future tenses, the other perfect tenses. Okay, except here we have two helping verbs, will and have. Okay, that is the future perfect. And then this is the passive voice sentence. A book will have been written. Okay, so again, we first take out the subject, take the object, the subject. We keep both of these helping verbs and add been because it is the perfect tense. And then we keep the participle. Okay? Okay, so do it yourself. I'll give you just a couple minutes to give these a little practice. This one especially because it has two helping verbs. And with the helping verbs, we keep. Okay, so maybe just give a few of these a try, and I will check back in a couple of minutes. Okay, so let's check some of your answers. Okay, the baker will have made a cake. A cake will have been made. Again, why? Okay, we take out the subject, make the object the subject, keep both helping verbs, add been, and then keep the participle. Okay, and it's the same way for all of the rest of these answers. Okay. Okay, so now we have to work on changing the passive voice to an active voice. Okay, so a passive voice with a by plus object pronoun. In the passive voice, we often add by plus object pronoun to talk about a person. Okay, so the active would be she wrote a story. Passive would be a story was written by her. All right. When we change passive to active voice, we use this to know who our subject is. Okay, so a passive voice was heard by him. Okay, or in the active voice, he heard a noise. Okay. Okay, these are examples of subject and object pronouns. Okay. So if we were using a subject pronoun, that would be at the beginning of the sentence. the object pronouns would go at the end of the sentence. Okay, so for example, I ate cake. Okay, cake was eaten by me. All right, and that is an object pronoun. Okay, passive voice without the by plus object pronoun. If we don't have by plus object pronoun, we can use a specific subject. We can use a non-specific subject. Okay, so again, if we don't have by plus an object pronoun, we can use a non-specific subject. Okay, that being someone or people or a person. We don't have by plus object pronoun, so we choose a non-specific subject. Okay. In the passive voice, we would say a noise was heard by someone. Okay, or someone heard a noise. Okay. Oops. Here we have by plus object pronoun, so we have a subject. Okay. Passive voice, a noise was heard by him. Okay, he heard a noise. All right, that is a subject pronoun, object pronoun. Okay. So in the present simple, a book is written by her. Okay, as the present passive, she writes a book. All right. So as you can see here, it's kind of done in reverse. We change the object to a subject pronoun. Okay. Then we take out the verb. Change the participle to the present tense. And then we make the subject the object. Okay, so let's go over those steps again. All right, first thing we do, change the object to a subject. Okay, then we take out the verb, change the participle to the present tense, and then we make the subject the object. Okay, so work from right to left. Okay, so here we have to change them from passive to the active voice. All right, so we make the object a subject pronoun. Okay, so the object becomes a subject pronoun, so we change her to what? She. Okay, then we change the participle to present tense. Okay, so told would be the participle. So she tells, right? So the participle is changed to present tense. Okay, she tells what? We take out is or are, so we take out this is right here. So the subject pronoun would be she. This participle would be changed to tells. Okay, we take out this verb here. And then we make the subject the object. All right, so it should say she tells a story. Okay, give that a couple minutes. Okay, again, it's kind of done in reverse, so make sure you are using this chart to help you in changing from the passive to the active voice. I'll give you just a couple minutes and we'll check in with your answers.